You're listening to the Jam Price Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is writer, producer, director, actor, Stephen Luke. And we're going to be talking about his new film, Come Out Fighting. Welcome back to the show, Stephen.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. Last time you were here was in October, and we talked about Operation Seawolf,
Yep.
which is a very exciting film. And we've got another very exciting film with Come Out Fighting. So I'm anxious to talk about it today. So our audience knows what we're going to be talking about. Do you want to give a synopsis of Come Out Fighting?
Yeah, so Come Out Fighting is set during World War II. It follows this African-American tanker unit called the 761st Black Panthers. And it follows these group of guys as they're just kind of entering the first stages of combat. One of their main leaders is on patrol. He gets ambushed and kind of gets stuck, behind enemy lines, and his men, his group of his soldiers, kind of concoct a rescue operation to go get him back. So that's kind of the movie in a nutshell.
And there we go. So you've got a really wonderful cast in this. Michael J. White, Tyrese Gibson, Killen Lutz, and Hiram A. Murray. But one of your favorites that you like to work with is Dolph Lundgren. He was in Operation Seawolf. He's been in some of your other films. Let's talk a little bit about Dolph. I know he
Yeah.
just recently came out and said he's been battling cancer for the last 8 years, which was surprising. Were you aware of that when you were filming these movies with him?
So uh, I was aware that of maybe some health problems. Um, I shouldn't say problems, but I know that there was some health that he was dealing with. I didn't necessarily know about cancer, which obviously I kind of found out along with everyone else. But I will say, kind of having kind of worked with him on two movies here back to back, relatively speaking, and especially kind of we filmed them within the same year. I got to have a little bit more, maybe more experience or hands on, maybe seeing with some of the, I don't want to say struggles that he was dealing with, but just kind of see now being able to see some things,
Mhm.
kind of having that information, obviously, like, oh my goodness, how was, I felt like I should have maybe done things, not to go easier on him, but like, he's such an amazing man and such an amazing actor that not only did he was always on time, he always knew his lines, he always knew what he was doing. I mean, there was never an issue or a problem coming from him, that I almost feel terrible that I not knowing that necessarily that information, that maybe I should have, I don't know, I'd say taken it easy on him by any means, but I mean, he definitely is a true professional, and he, now knowing that he was going through that, and also, coming to work, developing a character, getting into a frame of mind, and dealing with some of the hectic nature that is production. I mean, it's just incredible, and it just shows just the type of quality that he is as a person and as an actor.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's pray that, he's through the worst and, recovers completely and has a long life. So, because we want to continue to see him on the screen for sure, for sure.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, and he's really good in this film, as he was in Operation Seawolf. Uh, where did you film? You're a World War II aficionado, all right. So here we go. I mean, is this a true event that you based this on, or just tell, because you were one of the writers on this, so tell me
Yep.
a
Yep.
little bit about how the story got developed, and the Black Panthers were a real platoon during World War II?
Yeah, so they were a real I think they're called a battalion,
Italian, okay.
tank battalion. Yeah, no, yeah, a true to life battalion. They're kind of, there hasn't been a movie about them made, but they're kind of a little bit more known in more of a, the World War II historical, history major type people, because they're a little bit more famous as being part of Patton's Third Army. So they're one of the tank units that served under Patton. So they get a little bit, they've had a little bit of prestige associated with that. And as well as they're amazing fighting unit. One of the things kind of developing the story, I always like to kind of just plug in kind of the story that I kind of want to tell, and then really spend the time as I'm developing the characters and honing in the script, doing a lot of research on what I'm trying to say or portray. And one of the things I really learned about these guys is that as they were they spent a lot of their time training because they weren't necessarily given the opportunity to get into the war. And so while they were waiting for that opportunity, they trained and trained and trained. And I think, when they finally did get a chance to get into combat and show their skills as what they, all those years of training really showed. I mean, they were very effective as a fighting force right away. And I'm sure to those guys at the time, they were tired of all the training and wanting to actually get into the war. But I probably it saved a lot of lives and was they caused a maximum amount of damage on the enemy. So I do think it was very beneficial to them. So that's kind of like some of the fun historical aspects that I kind of learned just doing my own research. And yes, a lot of while the story itself isn't necessarily like one big thing that happened, it's kind of made up of about 4 or 5 different little smaller stories that happened to these guys in the war, and I kind of combined them into one narrative.
Okay. Where did you film this?
So we shot this down in Illinois, which it was kind of for me, I do a lot of my filmmaking in the Midwest, and the Midwest kind of shares the same parallel longitude as like France or Germany. So it really has a similar type of look in terms of the forests and trees and formations. So it's always it's always nice to and I love shooting in the Midwest. So that always kind of helps in that regards. And Illinois actually is, great state to shoot in. We had a really easy, or I shouldn't say easy, but just it was very supportive to film there. And, it served as a really kind of a central hub for a lot of the original vehicles that we used. We used quite a bit of vehicles in this film. And it was kind of a center area where, a lot of owners could get their vehicles for us without having it be too far in either direction for them to drive or for us to bring them in.
Mm-hmm. And where did you find these, tanks and things that you used in this film?
Yeah, so we brought, they are, while Illinois was more central. I mean, we brought in tanks, we brought in vehicles all the way from Tennessee, maybe even I think we even got someone from, all the way from Tennessee, maybe even South Carolina. There was some. Illinois was kind of a local area where I knew of some vehicles as well. So, I mean, they came from Iowa, they came from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Missouri. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some states that they came from. Michigan,
So how do you
Indiana, they're all over the place.
How do you put the word out? Looking for.
Well, I had a great.
Who has those tanks? You're all over the country. Are these private owners?
Yeah, a lot of them are private owners.
Wow.
Collectors. Some reenactors. I've done several movie projects, World War II themed over the years, so I've gotten to be in those circles of just those guys, and I actually got to use a really great company called World War II Armor. They specialize in World War II vehicle rentals. So good friend Chuck, he runs that organization, and he was very instrumental in kind of helping me wrangle some of these vehicles to get them in one spot. And just to find, I mean, it's always kind of some of these, there's only a handful of German tanks in the whole United States that are actually functional and operational, that aren't sitting in a museum. So just to be able to kind of get them, to show up to one spot is always kind of a fun challenge. Now, I do know what was always kind of fun to have when all the guys assembled their vehicles. I mean, a lot of the owners or collectors or, it was a lot of fun for them to see all the vehicles together because, for them, it's like it's seeing what they own or what they enjoy, like in their element with all their other, I don't want to say brothers, but like, we have 4 or 5 German half tracks there on set. Well, that might be the only time in a long time that they ever get to assemble that many together. So just getting to kind of see that and what it would have really looked in the war is a lot of fun for those guys. So that's always kind of fun to see.
It's just amazing. But where do you store a German tank at your home? I'm sure there's they have some kind of storage.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we had one. There was one there. I mean, there's a vehicle there that was. I mean, they're all really expensive, but I know there was like some of the German stuff that we had were in the 2, 3, 4, $5 million vehicles. Wow. So it's like having, really expensive Porsches or, like Lamborghinis on set. You're just like, oh my goodness, and make sure we don't wreck that.
Amazing. That's absolutely amazing, Steve.
Yeah.
I just, you do wonder, how do you find these things? Well, when Operation Seawolf, wasn't that filmed in Ohio? In Cleveland?
Yes. Yep. We shot it completely in Ohio. Luckily for us, there was only I think we only had a handful of like maybe 1 or 2 scenes where we even saw vehicles. So there wasn't as many vehicles needed for that. And we shot mainly in a submarine. So that was a little bit easier.
Oh, that was easier.
Easier.
Doing it in the submarine. What was the most difficult part of shooting this film?
I think like to be honest, I mean, we shot it in 2021. So that was kind of the part of the heart of COVID. Mm-hmm. So, filmmaking and making a movie while trying to also, kind of like, I don't want to say deal with COVID, but like kind of have that be as part of the production. I mean, obviously you want to keep all your cast and crew as safe as humanly possible, following different rules and regulations. But, it just, movies are a very personal and artistic endeavor. And sometimes it's hard to kind of have that, not that it was taken out of the production, but you really had to like walk that fine line of like, okay, we got to make sure to keep people, distance or wearing masks or what have you or whatnot. But also like, listen, we all got to get together and, hair and makeup. And I mean, we're, you just, there's certain things that you can't avoid doing in making a movie. And so, trying to, make the movie while also trying to keep people, free of COVID. I don't want to say is a challenge, but it's a different type of filmmaking experience that I never thought I'd ever have to figure out how to manage.
Yeah. Was Operation Seawolf also during the pandemic, or did you film that before?
It was. Operation Seawolf also was. But we had for Seawolf, we had less people, and we had less shooting days. So it was a little bit more, I don't want to say, and only one location. So it was really easy to kind of really secure that up. And not that Come Out Fighting was different. We just had a lot of people coming in and out. And, luckily it was outside. So that was very helpful. I mean, a lot of the scenes are outside but yeah, it's just an interesting experience.
Right. I would think being in, if it was COVID and you were filming in the submarine, that would have been more difficult because you were all closed in a tight space, too. So I would think that would be very difficult also to do that. So let's talk about your cast. How did you attract this cast? And let's talk about them a little bit.
Yeah. So yes, it's starring Tyrese Gibson, Kellen Lutz, Dolph, who we mentioned, Michael Jai, Hiram A. Murray. So I think obviously, like for me, when I cast a film, I always try to start with my main lead, so that way I kind of know who that is. I can picture my brain, and that way, like when you're filling out the rest of the bigger name cast, they also have a sense or an idea of who that main lead is going to be. Not that they need to necessarily approve of who that is, but just so that they know, hey, this is the person that's playing that role, and they also can feel comfortable with that decision. So that way they know they're not going to get, oh, we don't know who's playing the lead, and bring in someone that they wouldn't, they sign on and they wouldn't have proved it to begin with. So that's always kind of important to me. So Hiram A. Murray, who plays my lead, Lieutenant Hayes, I'd worked with him also on several projects, and I just love him to death. I think he's the most Amazing actor. He's so talented. He's going to be a superstar one day. And so I'm always trying to, wrangle him to work with me on certain things. And I know I pitched this project to him a few years before we even got to shoot it, and he was all on board. And most actors, you tell them, hey, I want you to play this role, and they're like, great, yeah, fantastic. Let me know when you get that off the ground.
Mhm.
And I know Hiram trusts me and believes me, but I think I was just like, all right, Hiram, great, we're ready to go. He's like, oh, okay, well, fantastic, let's do this. So it was not necessarily a surprise to him, but always kind of, oh, great, it's off the ground, let's go. So he was kind of my first thing that I got cast, and I think it was followed by let's see, I'm trying to think, like Kellen, we sent out. I've wanted to work with Kellen for a number of years. I loved him in there's a HBO series called Generation Kill, and he's in that, and I thought he was fantastic in it. So I always kind of wanted to be in one of my films. So we got an offer out to his agent manager, and I think like Kellen gave the script a read and was just like, hey, Kellen wants to get on the phone with you and talk about this script. And so that I always learned that that's a pretty good sign when the actors want to talk about it. At least then I get to kind of personally,
Right.
not pitch the project, but they, we can talk to them about it. And we had a great conversation. And he wanted to be on board, so we were able to make that work. We got this Dolph. We had Dolph. I mean, I personally talked to Dolph about it, and we very much enjoy working together, and so he was on board. We really dived into his character and could develop it and flesh it out together. Michael Jai, Michael Jai is a very amazing martial artist and actor, and I know he's super busy, and so we got an offer out to him, and I was like, oh, there's no way he's going to want to do this, because he's one of the leads, but he's a supporting lead. He usually plays the lead,
Right.
and Michael got back to us right away. He's like, I'm in. This is fantastic. I want to tell this story about these guys, and I want to represent, this tank unit. So fantastic having him. And Tyrese was kind of a late addition. We wanted to add Tyrese to the project, and we had heard for the longest time he wasn't available. And I think we were maybe 3 or 4 weeks out, and I don't know if it's his agent or manager, someone got a hold of us and said, hey, Tyrese's schedule freed up, for your shooting time, somewhere in there. If you still are interested in maybe having him on board, let us know. He might be able to do it. So we got him the information, and I was on the phone with him within a couple days after that, and we got the deal done and got him on board, within a couple weeks of shooting. So that's always kind of fun to do. So
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
yeah.
It happened after you've been starting. That's great. It's a great cast. It really is, and fun to watch. I mean, it's fun to watch them. It is fun to watch actors do the screen all
Well, it's always fun to watch. It's always fun to watch the professionals
Yeah.
work together. That's when nothing is more satisfying than watching professional actors getting to be in their element and dive into their characters, and then feeding off each other and being able to mesh and collaborate.
Right, exactly. And that's what this all is too. So
Yeah.
everybody, it's a well done. And it's this is like your other movie. It's very exciting. It's a very exciting movie to watch. Obviously, there's a lot, of interesting things that take place. I don't want to give anything away here with the cast, and so it's a fun ride. It's a fun ride, and it's perfect timing too, coming out around Memorial Day.
Yep.
So, it's a great movie to be seeing during this time, definitely. And, it's a good summer movie also. So, yeah, I think how many days was the shooting schedule?
So we shot for 17 days.
That's all? Oh,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
wow. That's a tight schedule.
It's a very tight schedule, luckily, and I've had a lot of practice. So I've learned over the years kind of how to best maximize every single minute, and how to get all of it shot and done. It's been fun to kind of just grow as a filmmaker, and as I've grown, producers have trusted me with more of more budget. Each one kind of gets a little bit more budget, and being able to maximize that budget is always key. And hopefully, or no, it's like this one hopefully will lead to the next bigger and better one, and just be able to keep utilizing the resources that I can for each one. But yeah, 17 days. That's
It's tight.
I it's tight, and I would challenge any filmmaker to shoot a war movie in 17 days. Good luck.
I would say the same thing. I mean, there's a lot to shoot in a war film, for sure, for sure. Well, you're amazing. You're amazing in that respect. Well, you wear a lot of different hats. You're a producer, you're a writer, you're a director, you're an actor. Which of those hats do you like the best?
Well, so that's a funny question. Not in a bad way, but like, so the actor in me, I enjoy the acting probably the best. But before I would say, and it is true, acting to me is the artist side of myself. I really get to dive into a character and do a piece of art. I enjoy that for the art side. But now now that I've gotten to kind of direct and produce a lot more, I would say that the actor also, I think I enjoy that the best, because I don't necessarily have as many responsibilities. I'm only responsible for one character, and that's my job, and that's what I do. So not that it's easier by any means, but I definitely have a newfound appreciation for, like, oh, you know what? I really do enjoy acting. That is sometimes a little bit more enjoyable as well. But for me, probably my best skill set is producing. I just love all aspects, and that's probably why acting, directing, and writing. I mean, a producer kind of usually has their hands in the cookie jar and all of that to some extent. And so that's kind of where my skill set is really flourishes. And I do enjoy the business. It can be a very love-hate relationship when you're making a movie as a producer. And sometimes you just get incredible highs and definitely big lows. But I think that's the ride and the challenge that I enjoy the most. And for some reason, I just keep finding myself, going back at it. So producing definitely is something that's near and dear to my heart.
Interesting. That is, because I would think that the directing would have been what you would have said. So that's interesting. But you're right. You're in charge of a lot of different things. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, directing. Don't get me wrong. I love directing. I'm just such a collaborative person, and maybe that's why I feel like I'm also a good director. But I love collaborating. So as a producer, you get to collaborate with everybody, and it's always nice to kind of have a director also obviously has a lot of responsibility for what's happening, what's going on. And I find that kind of like a producer director relationship, if you can find that and really flow together, I mean, it's such an incredible thing, because it's having two people at the head of the ship that are equally steering. And I think those are sometimes where like the best movies are made, is when you really have a team that's working together. Not that anything else is bad. It's just if producer director teams that can work in conjunction together are always I think more beneficial.
Well, you see that all the time. Steven Spielberg has, his producing team with Kathleen Kennedy and
Yes.
Scorsese. And so, they form, and you see that they form their teams that work on almost all of their films after a period of time, because they've, learned a shorthand and how to work. So I'm sure the same thing's true for you too, when you're out there directing and producing, that you've learned a
Yeah.
shorthand.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Like when you can, as a producer, when you can really, I don't want to say, not that you wouldn't trust your director, but when you can trust your director and your director trusts the producer, then little things such as, like, hey, we can't do it that way, or we don't have that many days because of budget or whatever the circumstance might be. There's not a hesitancy of like, okay, well, is it really because of budget, or is it because you're trying to save money, or that, you just can like, listen, we trust each other to, if I'm telling you, we can't do it that way, or we have to do it this way, or vice versa. Like it's not something we're just trying to selfishly get. We're working together to do the best that we can. So if you can find that, I mean, it just really makes the film that much better.
It does. It really does. Steve, and where can people see Come Out Fighting?
Yeah, so I think the best place to go check out Come Out Fighting is redbox.com. This movie is a Redbox exclusive. They were gracious enough to be say like, hey, we want to be a part of this film. They took it on right away. So yeah, you can buy it, you can rent it, you can check it out at their kiosks at Target, Walmart, wherever they have them. They're all over the place. So check it out there. But I also believe you can find it on iTunes and Amazon and Vudu, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other ones that I don't even know about anymore. Which is always awesome to see that this is it's growing to have more platforms for the film to be shown on. When I first started, and not that I guess maybe I am getting old now. It was like, hey, listen, if this gets on iTunes, we've made it. Like, people can find it on iTunes.
Yeah.
This is a huge deal. And then it was, it's like, yes, that's the one, the one and only. And
Right.
now there's lots of great options. So it's just exciting to get to see that.
It is. And I wish we had more time to talk, but our time is up. And I really appreciate you being on the show again. And I look forward to having you back with your next project.
Oh, I'll be back. How's that?
Sounds great. Thank
Awesome.
you so much. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.